The Supreme Court will overturn Trump's tariffs, and this was always going to be the case, guys. I predicted this 7 months ago when it all got started. Today, the Supreme Court heard testimonies from many people in the Trump administration, as well as from different companies trying to lobby to get rid of the tariffs. And it is safe to say it did not go well for the pro-tariff group. Here is Chief Justice Roberts questioning the Trump admin about the tariffs.
I think this is a question for the other side as well. It's two-facing. Yes, of course, tariffs and dealings with foreign powers, but the vehicle is imposition of taxes on Americans, and that has always been the core power of Congress. So to have the president's foreign affairs power trump that basic power for Congress seems to me to kind of at least neutralize between the two powers, the executive power and the legislative power.
Let me say two things in response to that. First, the notion that the taxes are all borne by Americans and are not borne by foreign producers whose goods are imported is empirically there's no basis for that in the record. It's actually a mixed.
Well, who pays the tariffs? If a tariff is imposed on automobiles, who pays them?
Typically there'd be regardless of who the importer of record is, there'd be a contract that would go along the sort of line of transfer that would allocate the tariff, and there'd be different. Sometimes the foreign producer would pay them. Sometimes the importer would bear the cost. The importer could be an American, could be a foreign company. A lot of times it's a wholly owned American subsidiary of a foreign corporation. So it gets allocated. The empirical estimates range from like 30% to 80% of like how much is borne by Americans.
I mean, it's been suggested that the tariffs are responsible for significant reduction in our deficit. I would say that's raising revenue domestically.
So that's a fancy way, essentially, of saying that we pay the tariffs, right? We know this is how they work. Companies in America pay the tariff, they pass it on to the consumer. And the problem is, for the Trump admin, is that this is so obviously unconstitutional. This is basic constitutional law. Congress has the power of the purse. They also have power to tax or to not tax. The president does not. Rand Paul made this point on Fox News this week as well.
Do you want to see them struck down by the Supreme Court?
I want to see the Constitution have meaning. And the Constitution said that taxes originate in the House. Tariffs are a tax. And anybody who tries to say tariffs are not a tax, just not serious people. Our founding fathers wanted the taxes to start in the House because the House was elected every 2 years and the closest to the people. But they were very, very specific. We fought the revolution over taxation without representation. A president cannot levy taxes without the approval of Congress. I think the Supreme Court's going to strike this down. And it's not for any personal vendetta against the president. I like the president. I wish him and our country success. But we have to do things in an orderly constitutional manner, or it can lead to chaos.
I don't know if the pro-tariff folks understand that not only tariffs are a tax, but also that it kills the market every single time when the executive branch is in charge and not Congress. And here's why. The markets thrive always on predictability and on stability. And when Congress is in charge, it just takes time. Like nothing gets done. We know this about Congress, right? And that is good. That it takes consensus, it takes compromise, and making a new tax is predictable. Like we all knew with the new budget stuff that was happening with the big beautiful bill at the beginning of the year, right? That took months to happen. It was predictable. There was compromise. Things got done slowly. But when one person is in charge that has ultimate authority, like Trump, like a president, it is not stable. It is not predictable. And we've seen that over the last 6 months. The tariff rate on China, for example, and that's just one country. But let's say you're a company dealing with many countries, because maybe you have a product that you source materials that don't come from the US. They don't come from any one country. You have to parse it and take it from 10 different countries. Just in China, the tariff rate has changed more than half a dozen times in the last 6 months. And if you're a company and you're dealing with multiple countries, how do you operate that way? And the answer is you don't. And so your stock tumbles, your revenue tumbles, and that means you don't hire more people, you don't develop new technologies, the economy suffers. It means that more than 50% of Americans own stock in publicly traded companies in the US. So it's not just these rich billionaires, it's not just the jobs, it's everyone's 401ks and IRAs. Now on the other side, Trump makes an interesting point that maybe the president should have temporary power for negotiations when other countries enforce new tariffs on the U.S.?
The hearing today, a lot of people were trying to read through the tea leaves, what the justices were asking. Some were saying they were overly skeptical. You can't really do that in Supreme Court hearings, but how worried are you that they may unwind this thing?
Well, I heard the court case went well today, but I just heard that a little while ago because, as you know, it was just 2 hours ago that they finished up. But I will say this, it would be devastating for our country if we lost that. Devastating. I think it's one of the most important, maybe the most, but one of the most important cases in the history of our country. I think taking tariffs away so that we can have national security. So, as an example, President Xi, he hit us with the rare earths, and I hit him with a tariff, 100% tariff on top of all the other tariffs that you're paying. And they called in 10 minutes and we made a deal.
You're saying you're happy with what you came out of it.
If I didn't have tariffs, we would right now, the entire world would be in a depression.
So I do think that's an interesting point as well. Tariffs can be used in negotiations. It seems to be what Trump wants to do, though we've never actually gotten a clear answer on what the point of the tariffs is. Sometimes we're told it's for negotiations. Sometimes we're told it's the new tariff regime. Sometimes we're told we're trying to just take it all down. We don't know. Different members of the Trump admin have said different things at different times. So no one has any idea actually what the main objective of the Trump admin is for the tariffs. Sometimes they'll say it's for manufacturing jobs, right? Like we just don't know. But I think there is a good argument that maybe the president should have some sort of short-term response to other people's tariffs. So perhaps the best way to do this would be the Supreme Court striking tariffs down and then Congress passing a law that says, similar to like war, for example, that a president can implement tariffs for, say, 30 days on a country in response to them putting a tariff on us. That seems like it might be a happy middle ground. Again, that would act similar to war, where I think a president theoretically can go to war for 180 days before Congress has to officially declare war. Obviously, we haven't done that since World War II, so I don't know if that's as relevant, but that's how it might work. Justice Amy Coney Barrett brought up a different point, which is also very fair and interesting, that we have already as a country been taxed $800 billion in tariff taxation this year. So how are we going to give all of that back if this gets struck down?
And then if you win, tell me how the reimbursement process would work. Would it be a complete mess? I mean, you're saying before the government promised reimbursement, and now you're saying, well, that's rich. But how would this work? It seems to me like it could be a mess.
So the first thing I'd say is that just underscores just how major a question this is. The very fact that you were dealing with this with quotas, there's no refund process to the tunes of billions of dollars or embargoes, but there is here. But for our case, the way it would work is, in this case, the government stipulated for the 5 plaintiffs that they would get the refunds. So for us, that's how it would work. Your question, I take it, is about everyone else. We don't have a class action or anything like that. With respect to everyone else, there's a whole specialized body of trade law, and it's in 19 U.S.C. 1514 outlines all these administrative procedures. It's a very complicated thing. There's got to be an administrative protest. There was a harbor management case earlier that this court was involved with in United States Shoe, in which the refund process took a long time. There were any number of claims and equitable relief.
So a mess.
So it's difficult, okay. Absolutely. We don't deny that it's difficult, but I think what this court has said in the McKesson case in 1990 is that serious economic dislocation isn't a reason to do something.
It would be a nightmare, 100%, but I think that attorney brings up a good point, which is that good is good, wrong is wrong. Just because something is difficult does not mean we shouldn't do it. You'll remember when Trump was running for president last year, one of the arguments against the deportations for the 11 million illegal immigrants that we have in our country was, it's just really hard. Like, it's too hard. We shouldn't even try. And I don't think that was a good argument. I think it's like, well, we're going to try anyway because that is what the right thing to do is. Finally, I had to show this clip, guys. While Brett Kavanaugh, Amy Coney Barrett, Justice Roberts, they're all asking thought-provoking questions. You may not have agreed with them. You may like the tariffs or not like the tariffs, but they're asking questions that made you think. If you go watch other videos, very profound. And then we had Ketanji Brown Jackson, who is the McDonald's of Supreme Court justices, and she was just on a different talent level from those justices I previously mentioned.
Did any president under TWIA use that language to impose tariffs?
Well, yes, President Nixon's 1971 tariff.
Not a tariff. That wasn't a tariff. It was a licensing agreement during wartime. It was a specific thing. Tariff I'm talking about.
I'm referring to President Nixon's 1971 tariffs.
I'm sorry. Excuse me. Yes, I thought you meant Lincoln.
Not only that, but then it was upheld by the Court of Appeals with exclusive jurisdiction under this very phrase.
Can I back you up just a second? I'm sorry. You're talking so quickly.
Sorry.
3 letters, folks. DEI. She is horrible. What is clear from this hearing is that Trump's tariffs are over. I will be shocked if they stayed. I think that's going to be a big win for Americans. Trust me, the economy will do better. And in the future, if Democrats want to go crazy with tariffs when they're in the White House, they won't be able to now. The progressive left is a cult. I talk all about it in my book, A New Cult. I know you've heard about it because I talk about it every single episode. But Christmas is coming up. It makes a fantastic gift for your eccentric uncle. So go check it out right now. The link is in the description below. Thank you so much for watching today's show, guys. Please like the video so other great patriots like yourselves will see it. And if you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, give the podcast a rating so people will find it there. And you can tune in every single weekday at 6 p.m. Eastern for the live show, or you can watch another video right here.